tool for Zellers about 20 years ago, and I had to look this up because I couldn't remember what company it was. But there's a lady getting ready to host a Christmas party. She's hustling around, she's humming a Christmas song, lighting the candles, putting the food out, and she looks around at all her work and says, yeah, I think I've got it all done, and all on budget this year too. And then she says, I think I really have my act together this year. I don't think there's one thing I forgot. And then the doorbell rings. She answers the door, and we see from behind that she's not wearing a skirt under her apron. And that's kind of what it feels like to me. I did check, and I wore pants this week on purpose just to make sure I wouldn't miss anything important like that. But those moments are weird when you think there's something missing. I don't know what it is. It's when you know you've forgotten something. You never really realize what it is you've forgotten until you come face to face with it. You never really realize until it hits you hard. And those are the moments of intense clarity. And I'm sure for this lady, it was a really kind friend who took her aside gently and said, I love your pantyhose, but I think you need something over top of them too. But I can't help but wonder if our buddy Joseph felt the same way. So one of the interesting parts about the text we heard from Matthew is it's all from Joseph's point of view. The only players in this scene are Joseph and the angel. So by the time we get to this, Joseph would have been in his late teens, early 20s, not an old guy. Mary would have been in her teens as well, probably younger teens. And they would have probably known each other already. I mean, they both came from Nazareth, which at the most had about 2,000 people. Now, that was the size of my high school. And I didn't know everybody in high school, but I could generally recognize people, figure out who they talked to, sometimes know who was siblings with whom. And I bet it was kind of like that with Mary and Joseph. In fact, they were probably betrothed to each other from childhood, from a pretty young age. This was probably arranged ahead of time. And rightly so. That's just how things were done. So virginity was a big thing. We hear a lot about Mary's virginity. And this doesn't mean that she was alcohol-free like a virgin drink. This means that she had never been touched by a man before. And this was very, very important because it ensured that the husband would be the father of the children. And this had to be because inheritance and property management depended on a legitimate lineage. And we know that this is extra important in Matthew because the first 17 verses of Matthew have to do with how Joseph is a descendant of David, and it goes on and on and on. And you kind of think, all right, Matthew, I get it. I get it. But they really, really wanted to drive the point home that Joseph is a descendant of David. So you can believe that an extramarital child, that someone born without this grand scheme of legitimacy would have been not only unusual but unacceptable. It would have been more than grounds for separation. And you can bet that Joseph would have felt betrayed. This person he had seen and known in his hometown since he was a kid. This person who was betrothed to him from a young age had thrown a wrench in the system. Joseph did everything right. Even when he was contemplating leaving her, he was doing it in a very kind and honorable way. To dismiss her quietly and not publicly would have been huge. It would have been ideal for Mary, but potentially detrimental to Joseph. It would have been easier and certainly more satisfying to make a show of it, but Joseph didn't, because that is not the loving thing to do. Dismissing her quietly is something you would do for a friend, not a stranger, not the other member of a business contract, but someone you cared about. So I can picture the shock Joseph felt when that missing piece, when that truth was revealed to him in his dream with the angel. I thought, oh my, I can't believe it. I was going to let this poor teenage girl bear and raise the Son of God by herself. How could I have missed that? How could I have not seen? I've known her my whole life. So Joseph stuck around. And that's kind of all we hear about poor Job. He gets overshadowed by everybody. I mean, his fatherly counterpart is God. The guy didn't have much hope. But Joseph is an exemplar of love. There's a saying I've heard that any fool can be a father, but it takes a real person of integrity to be a dad. And that implies that you don't necessarily have to have contributed biologically to a kid to be a loving parent. Joseph loved like a true dad, even though he was not the father. And this is actually kind of an odd story for the Sunday of Love, because it feels much more obligatory. Like, Joseph, you can't leave her. I know you want to. I know it's a little socially awkward, but one little catch. It's the Son of God in there, so you have a job to do. There's actually very little in our passage that says anything about love. And there's nothing about Mary. This isn't Mary's time. This is Joseph's little moment. And if you're like me, particularly in the week of Christmas, you've got all kinds of things floating around in your head, including song lyrics. And you might be like Tina Turner, wondering, what's love got to do with it? That's why I sing lower. But love has everything to do with it. Love is it. And then, because again, you've got songs floating around in your head, you might think, well, the one I need is, all you need is love, love. Love is all you need. That's kind of naive, isn't it? But I can't blame the Beatles too much, because it has a nice ring to it. It's much better than all you need is love with commitment and respect and healthy boundaries and good communication. It doesn't quite fit. It's not as catchy. You're not going to generally hear somebody singing that one to themselves as they're picking up groceries. See, really, I'm just in it for the jokes here. That's all this years of schooling. It was easier than stand-up. But seriously, love is at the core, but it's not all that's needed to maintain this. Joseph obviously loved Mary enough to bother to think about how he could leave her in a way that would leave her in the ideal situation and still leave him in a situation where neither of them would be crushed socially. Paul, in his letter to the Corinthians, said my favorite words about love. And since we're ranting and being a little silly, I'm going to say I don't like when this one is used at a wedding. I think that's diminishing it. Because this talks about God's love. This talks about love with a capital L. And it goes something like this. Love is patient. Love is kind. Love is not envious or arrogant or boastful or rude. Love does not insist on its own way. Love never ends. I missed parts of it in there. But you get the idea. It's that, whoa, you feel the truth to that. You feel the weight of those words. But that does not say all you need is love. Even God needs those other things to surround love. There's a reason why love is our fourth candle and not our first one, because we need hope, peace, and joy to support love. And love is a tricky guy or girl. Love is just, it throws us. And that's part of its design, because it takes all of our courage to truly love. Because to truly love, we have to open ourselves up. We have to leave our hearts dangling out. And when we do that, we are also open to pain, fear, and disappointment, and hurt. But if we never put our hearts out there, then we can never truly experience that love that is patient and kind and unending. So love is not all we need, but it is the core. It is what it's all about. And I think that's why Christmas feels so magical. I've never had the honor of being a mother of a human. I do have a puppy, but it's not the same. I didn't bear a creature within me. I didn't feed said creature from my own body. But I can understand that feeling of when you first pick up that brand new creature and you look in their eyes wordlessly and you just know there's something complete. There's that missing piece within you that just clicks into place. And then it gets really complicated after that, because you have to potty train. You have to clean up. You have to get up in the middle of the night. You have to buy the right food. You have to get the right treats. You step on toys in the middle of the night when you get up to go to the bathroom. But in that first moment, the Beatles do have it right, and all you need is love. The supporting of that love into the future, that's the hard part. That's the work of Christmas. That's the work of respect and trust and commitment, good communication, healthy boundaries, courage. Because as unconditional as God's love is, as unconditional as we would like our love to be, unbound love is impractical in the long run. It gives the parts of ourselves away that we need to hold on to in order to continue loving. And I believe that's why God came to be born as a small baby, as the most vulnerable creature there is, to show us continually that peace that just clicks in to complete us. That peace that would leave us incomplete if we did not find it. So I want to leave you with one of my favorite poems. And it was written with romantic love in mind, but I never think of it that way. I think of it in a faith sense. Kind of a hazard of the trade, though. And this one is by E. E. Cummings. It was written in 1952. It's titled, I Carry Your Heart in My Heart. I carry your heart with me. I carry it in my heart. I am never without it. Anywhere I go, you go, my dear. And whatever is done by only me is your doing, my darling. I fear no fate, for you are my fate, my sweet. I want no world, for beautiful are you, my world, my true. And it's you are whatever a moon has always meant, and whatever a sun will always sing is you. Here is the deepest secret nobody knows. Here is the root of the root, and the bud of the bud, and the sky of the tree called life, which grows higher than soul can hope or mind can hide. And this is the wonder that keeps the stars apart. I carry your heart. I carry it in my heart. So we wait for the baby who carries all of our hearts, who asks us to carry his heart in our hearts, in all we do. I carry your heart. I carry it in my heart. May it be so.